Edge rusher Donovan Ezeiruaku is going to be one of the most critical players for Boston College if they're going to be successful with Bill O'Brien in their first season in 2024.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Spring football is upon us. We are watching and getting ready for practice to kick off. Bill O'Brien has yet to say when practice is going to start, but you got to imagine it's going to be in the next few weeks. And all eyes are going to be on some players. We know that everyone's going to want to watch Thomas Castellanos. The quarterback is going to be a key feature going forward. But there's 5 players that I want to watch for. 5 players that are going to be key for the development of Boston College football. And no player for me is more critical than the reascension of edge rusher Donovan Ezeiruaku. Now, Donovan came into the 2023 season with lots of accolades. This was a guy we said last year was going to be the next big Boston College defensive end, going in the lines of Harold Landry and Zach Allen. You were thinking this is a guy that's going to get you sacks, that's going to be your pass rusher. He had 8.5 sacks. He was second in the ACC in sacks, and you assumed going into this year that he was going to be that dude. He was going to be him. But he wasn't. Donovan Ezeiruaku, you look at his Pro Football Focus grade, he looked great. You know, he was right up there. I think he was right behind Elijah Jones in terms of top-ranked BC player. But you look at his statistics, and you get a little worried. 2 sacks. Donovan Ezeiruaku had 2 sacks all of last year. And all of them came against a very bad UVA offensive line in which he just crushed them. Now, we know this story. We've talked about this all year long. Ezeiruaku, he drew the attention of a lot of opposing offenses. They threw running backs at him. They chipped him. They threw fullbacks. They threw extra offensive linemen. They threw your grandmother. They threw my cat. They threw everything they could to make sure that he did not get at that quarterback. And to the other team's credit, they were pretty successful at that. And that is why BC's pass rush was one of the worst in the country, or the worst in the country. They had 8 sacks, and 6 of them came against UVA. Obviously, Tim Lewis, the new defensive coordinator, he's going to want to have a much more effective pass rush. We talked on the other day about how Neto Ekpala, the other defensive end, or whoever they put over there, is going to have a bigger year. Because Donovan Ezeiruaku can only do so much. And watching what he can do, if they can get a little bit of that pressure off of him, if they can get, if the opposing teams can just, honor some of the other players out there for Boston College, Ezeiruaku could be a monster. He could be that key, because if he can get to that quarterback, all of a sudden the defense is not going to be giving up, 4 or 5 yards a clip and first downs and thirds and shorts and all the things that happened last year that made this defense not effective. Ezeiruaku could be that key. Remember, we've talked to Mitch Wolf of Eagle Insider. He's my buddy. He's the guy that he writes alongside with me. And he says that statistically, sacks can be as effective as a turnover, that they are that disruptive. So when BC, they didn't have any turnovers, period, but they also didn't have any sacks. The defense was kind of milquetoast. They weren't doing anything. So you got to get that. There's no reason Ezeiruaku cannot be a top ACC pass rusher this year. It can happen. You just need the other guys around him to be better and to get him more chances to get at that quarterback. Now, what other players will there be that could also be critical for next year? Players you're going to want to hear about at practice. The one big one, it's as important as the pass rush, is on the other side of the ball, is that offensive line. We lost we lost both guards. Christian Mahogany and Kyle Hergel are gone. If you're watching the combine, you get to see Mahogany out there. Hergel, he should have been at the combine. He would have killed it. But you'll get to see him at pro day when that happens. Now, the buzz right now is that Logan Taylor, the transfer from UVA, he's going to bump over into guard. He played guard a little bit last year too, and you'll get him in there. And then you'll push Jude Bowery to tackle, but which he should start. Jude Bowery should be a starter. So that leaves that last guard position. And I think a lot of folks were like, oh, they should have went to the transfer portal. They should have got someone. And I believe me, I was one of those guys too. They should have gone to the transfer portal and got a guard. But they didn't. And I know they were looking at it. There was a lot of offers out there. They just were not able to close the deal. And maybe Bill O'Brien will be able to close the deal to get a guard. So that leaves you gotta play with the cards that you got, right? So that leaves you two guys. You got Jack Conley and you got Kevin Klein. Jack Conley, I think, found his role last year. Jack Conley as a guard was perfect as that sixth. When they went jumbo, he was perfect. I don't want to see Jack Conley being the starting guard. We saw that in 2022. It wasn't worth it. No offense to the kid, it was more limitations of what he could do. And I think let's get him successful. Let's get him to what he can do well. And that being that sixth guard, give him that number 44 again, make him that second tight end or whatever they were doing. It worked. Do that. So my second player that I want to watch for is Kevin Klein. Now, Kevin Klein in this picture is a terrible picture of Kevin Klein. He's about 360 pounds here. He looks big, but he's slimmed down. He's about 310 now. He started and played some in 2022 before he got hurt. He played a little bit last year as well. So he has the opportunity to take this. He's a guard. He's now, I think, a redshirt junior. This is the perfect year for him to get up there and play. He's got the size. He hasn't been a huge, he needs to develop more to do anything of what Hergel and Mahogany did. But he's going to be that guy. He's got to, at guard, you're going to have Logan Taylor, who hopefully will be fine, but you need him. You need Kevin Klein to step up. He's going to be someone you're watching for, because this position is going to be a battle. This is a battle position going into camp. And honestly, I couldn't tell you, because Bill O'Brien's brand new. Who's going to take that guard spot? I mean, every position's up for grabs, but this one specifically, will it be Klein? Will it be Jack Conley? Could it be Otto Hess? There's a bunch of guys on this roster that could step up. Jack Funk, I know he's a big favorite of Eagle Insider. There's a lot of guys that are going to get that chance. If it's Kevin Klein, it's got to be him. He's got to have a chance to step up, to do what he's got to do. And I think he's going to be someone I'm going to watch in camp. Now, in a moment, I got a couple more names. I want to watch for. And then we'll talk about basketball, who disappointed yet again. Now, your ride or die is very important to you. With passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy is what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors is the place when you need everything to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or performance, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Locked On. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. And we're going over some critical players going into the 2024 season, especially with spring practice coming around. And if you want more info on spring practice, you got to check me out over at Eagle Insider. You got me. I'm doing everything on recruiting. I got a whole notebook coming out today with all the new offers and talk to each and every one of them. Get you to know where they're at with Bill O'Brien. We got Mitch Wolf. He's doing a whole analysis on Bill O'Brien's offense. He's looking at Tim Lewis's defense. If you never heard anything about Tim Lewis, but Mitch is going to look at what kind of scheme he runs, how it looks, what he relies on, all for VIP members. Right now, you can check out VIP for $1 for the first month. If you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, AJ, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Now, we're looking here at spring practice. We're looking at what Boston College players need to step up. They need to have a big spring. And the first name that I feel like has someone nipping at his heels is third-year junior tight end Jeremiah Franklin. Now, fans of the show know that I'm a fan of talking about tight ends. Haha, dad joke. But Franklin, as a true freshman, he was tossed out there in 2022 with George Takis getting hurt. And he struggled. He looked lost at times. He did, he was 18 or 19 years old. The kid just was learning the game, right? It was not pretty. Now, Takis got hurt again in 2023. So Franklin had to jump in. And to his credit, I thought Franklin started to really develop into a solid tight end. Now, was he perfect? No, he was not perfect. Is he as good of a blocker as George Takis was? No. George Takis was an excellent blocker. Franklin, though, was a much more effective target in the pass offense. He had some really good games where he had a touchdown. I think it was against Holy Cross. He had some big moments. He had 12 receptions for 166 yards. So not the greatest. And he's going to need to step up. Tight ends are a huge role in what Will Lawing, the new offensive coordinator, who's a tight ends coach, does, and what Bill O'Brien does. Now, Lawing, if you watched any of what the Patriots did last year, and believe me, unless you live in New England, you shouldn't have been watching anything the Patriots did. The only players that really did anything was Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry, their tight ends, because that's what Lawing worked with. And he got them good. I mean, they had like 80-something catches between the two of them. Now, looking at what the tight ends BC has, you got Jeremiah Franklin, who has 12, and then you have Kamari Morales, the transfer from North Carolina, who was a more reliable. He's a guy that's maxed out what his ceiling is. He's reliable. He can catch the ball. So you get these two guys. Will Jeremiah Franklin jump up to become a 30, 35 reception kind of guy? He needs to. This is his time. You've looked at what BC's offenses have looked like in the past under Hafley. You would think that he would do that anyways, but now with Hafley gone, you're going to have Lawing, a guy that works with tight ends who can probably fix some of the things going on with Franklin that have kind of hindered him. And you'd hope that this is the year that he breaks out, that he becomes the top tight end on the team and one that really catches attention when there's games going on. I think Franklin can be that guy. Now, if he doesn't, maybe, again, new set of eyes, they're going to watch a whole bunch of other guys. There's a couple other names on this roster. Now, Charlie Gordinier and Hans Lillis, they have transferred. They're gone. And I saw that Emmanuel Adebi, a tight end from Cornell, has been offered. Want to make sure you guys understand, he's just a preferred walk-on offer. He's not going to be much of anything. And he's not a pass catcher. If you ever watched any of his film, he's more of a six offensive lineman. That leaves you guys like Matt Reagan. Matt Reagan is from Lawrence Academy in Massachusetts. This is a guy who's been waiting. This is his turn. So he could be. Or it could be Holden Simmons, who is a huge. I met him last year. He's a big kid. He's only a redshirt freshman, though. So you got a couple guys. And there's also the possibility of transfer portal. Again, we don't know what's going to happen after spring practice. There could be guys that leave. So Jeremiah Franklin is got to step up. He's got to become that guy. He's got to become tight end number one. And I think he can do it. And our final guy that we're going to look at is on the defensive side of the ball. And he was a guy that I saw in the Fenway Bowl and stood out to me. With the mess that was going on with the linebackers, and you had Vinny DePalma, who was fine, and he's a coach now. It's great because, I think he understood that he's not going to make it in the league. You had Cam Arnold, who look out of place a lot of times. You lost Bryce Steele. So you had a whole bunch of new dudes coming in. And the one that stood out to me was Davon Crouch. He goes by Bam. And I feel like Davon Crouch is a guy that's primed to take that middle linebacker role. You move over Cam Arnold to the weak side linebacker. He does, what Vinny DePalma did last year. You put Crouch out there, who is explosive. He's big. He's fast. He's violent. I feel like this is the year that he steps up and he can run that linebackers group. This is going to, again, with new coaches, it's so interesting to talk about because you have a bunch of new eyeballs. You have Dan O'Brien, the linebackers coach. This is the son of Tom O'Brien, who's coaching the linebackers now from Navy, from SMU. He's run defenses. What's he going to be looking for? I can tell you on the recruiting trail, what they're looking for is very different for linebackers than what Jeff Hafley looked at. What was the one knock that folks had about Hafley and his linebackers? Every single one of them was a safety that he converted to linebacker. Dan O'Brien is not looking at that. I'm going to tell you that right now. When you look at the line, he's out there. There's been about 6, 7 true linebackers, true traditional linebackers that fit that role. And that's going to get Boston College fans excited because they need that. They need to get back to the Mark Herzligs, the Luke Kuechlys, the Mike McLaughlins, Brian Tolles of the world. Because it's great that you got speed, but some of those guys it was not working what they were doing. A guy like Crouch, he is a traditional linebacker. He played linebacker in high school. He was an outside linebacker edge hybrid. But that's not a safety, right? He's not playing defensive back and then pushing him up. He can do all that. He can be that guy. So he fits to me what Dan O'Brien, I think, is going to be looking for, which is more of those thumping, bigger linebackers to fix that linebacking group. We saw this and we thought he was going to be it anyways, but I feel like his style and his body type and the way that he plays the game, that Davon Crouch is going to be a better fit for this defense, and he's going to jump up and he's going to start right off the bat. I think this is a big spring for him. He can reach up and grab that ring and run with it. Now, there's other guys, obviously, that could also jump up too, right? You have Sione Hala, but he's the hybrid guy. Safety, he could play safety. They can move him back to safety. You have Cam Arnold. You have Bryce Steele. You have Jalen Blackwell. You have other names that you could be looking at that could be your next starting linebacker. But for me, I think it's Crouch. I watched him in that Fenway Bowl. He impressed me. It was a small sample size, but that's where you jump off as a player. You get to that next level with a big performance like that. In our final segment, we're going to jump away from football for a little bit here. We're going to talk about basketball. I know you folks don't want to listen to it, but I'll explain a little bit more about what happened on Wednesday night at the Conti Morgue. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. FanDuel knows that college football and the football season is over. And I know we're all sad. We miss our football. But you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Did you guys watch that Cleveland Cavaliers game the other day? Was it Max Strauss who hit the game-winning three-pointer? Like, imagine if you had a wager on that game and you had the Cavaliers money line going. How happy you would have felt when Strauss hit that miracle three-pointer. Crazy. Now, that's $150 if you bet on the Cavs. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. With FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black and our favorite basketball team played on Wednesday night, and they lost again. Going into this game, what stunned me, if you went to FanDuel, was that BC was a 1.5-point favorite against Virginia. Now, I know the Hoos had not scored 50 points in about a month, which is insane. But that's what Tony Bennett does with his team. They're ugly. It's miserable basketball to watch. And the thought was BC can score and they're going to be able to do it at home. They beat them last year. You figured that was what was going to happen. Well, that's not what happened because BC fell behind early. They kind of came back, and their offense actually showed up in the second half. They scored 45 points in the second half against UVA, which is crazy because it looked like they were going to score 45 points total in this game, but they lost by 4. Folks, I think this is the end. Like, we're not going to, I know folks are still looking at this and going, you had a great game from Quentin Post. He had 24 points. Mason Madsen had 10. Jaden Zachary had 12. But the fans weren't there. It was dead again. And it just feels like we're just kind of running out the clock here on this season. What's the answer to this? Because this is the end of a very, very, very disappointing year. BC's now at 15-13. They're 6-11 in the ACC. Did we overestimate this team? Probably. Is Earl Grant not maximizing what he has on his roster? Absolutely. So it's a combination of that that's led to where we are now. Because they're going to have, is there progress? Yeah. You look at the Ken Palm and they're like 90th. That's nice. They were 114 last year. Baby steps, right? But this wasn't what we were looking for this year. This wasn't a team that was meant for baby steps. This was a team that was supposed to at least make the NIT, and they're not even going to do that. They only have a couple of games left. They have one more home game left on their schedule. And I don't think anyone honestly cares. Like, it's over, right? You have Pittsburgh, Miami, and Louisville. You have to go to Miami. There's a potential here of one more win. Like, Pitt is good. Blake Hinson, their guard, is one of the best players in the country. And they're playing them at home, which is good. It's senior day, so you'll be celebrating Quentin Post. But will they win it? I don't think so. You got Miami, who you barely beat, but you're playing them on the road. You're probably going to lose that. And then you should beat Louisville, who should have, like, watching them against Duke last night, they were completely checked out. And they're just waiting for Kenny Payne to get fired. And then it's off to the ACC tournament, where BC will be playing again on Tuesday and probably will be eliminated in the second round. It feels like we're just spinning our wheels here. This was supposed to be a big year for Boston College, and another loss. And yes, I know UVA is a tournament team. You play them close, but close doesn't count unless it's hand grenades or horseshoes. BC lost. They lost. And they've been losing a lot lately. They haven't dealt with injuries. Fred Payne has been the only one that they've lost, and he was a true freshman who was an end-of-the-bench guy. Their defense has taken a huge step back, and I don't know what was going on with that, because is it TJ Bickerstaff, Makai Ashton Langford, 2 guys that you lost last year? Were they the glue for your defense? Because your defense looks terrible. And their offense is stagnant at times, which has always been the case under Earl Grant. That hasn't changed. What does need to change is something next year. Earl Grant's not going anywhere. I'm going to tell you, he's signed up to the 2029 season. BC is not, unless Blake James can somehow pull a miracle, BC is not going to eat that contract. And unlike college football, which Jeff Hafley did us all a favor by going to the Packers, there's no team that's going to want Earl Grant. He's here. You got to surround him with guys that support him. And to me, that looks like the assistants. Like, who of these assistant group are not working? And you could argue all of them. But I feel like that's going to be the first thing that gets shaken up at this offseason, because it's not working right now. And it's not fun to watch this team right now. They've lost all the spark that they had at the beginning of the season. And we only got 3 more games, and it feels like we're like dragging. Like our legs have been chopped off and we're like dragging to the finish line. This is AJ Black. We'll be back again tomorrow with more talk about what's going on with BC football, anything else that's going on in the world of Boston College. You'll find it here on Locked On Boston College. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at AJ Black 247 at LockedonBC, and check me out on Eagle Insider. Just put Eagle Insider into Google. You'll find it right away. We have a kick butt message board. We have awesome writers. We have content up the wazoo. You'll love it. Check it out right now. Thank you all so much for listening to Locked On Boston College, your team every day.